What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy Chef. We are back, and you already know what time it is. It is time for the YAK Pod, episode number 43. Now, we're going to talk about a couple of things today, but first of all, I want to give a shout out to my man, Easy. You know, he's a Woodward heavyweight, and he came in and gave your boy a few recommendations, so that's why we're sitting up here landscaping. We're going full screen, baby. I was doing portrait before, but now we are doing landscape. We are getting the whole kitchen experience, so I hope you guys enjoy that. But before we get into what we're going to get into today, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe. You know, hit that little button down there, turn on the notifications, smash the like button, share, because you know it helps to get the algorithm on my side. And if you are enjoying this content, you want the algorithm on my side. And let's go ahead and get right to it. A couple things that came down the pipe today was the whole Josh Reynolds situation, and we're going to talk about that later. But what I really want to talk about is these kickoffs, man. These kickoffs that have been approved. They were approved, I believe it was yesterday. There are mixed emotions, but the excitement that I have comes from Coach Dan Campbell. Now, Coach Dan Campbell, when he was at the what was it? The league meetings. Yeah, so we was at the league meetings. He was talking about he was asked a question about the kickoff rule changes. Now, this is right before they had really been approved. They were thinking that they were really close. They were like, we were about one vote away, so they were thinking that it was going to be approved. But he was talking about how he was already in the lab with Dave Phipp. Now, if you guys don't know, Dave Phipp is the Lions special teams coordinator. He's the man responsible for the Lions special teams becoming a lot better than they were. You know, not giving up kickoff returns for touchdowns and things of this nature, and some of the trickeration and the things that they do. So they're already thinking out of the box. They're already trying to figure out how they're going to be able to use this. This is a creative play. This is a creative canvas, if you will. You allow all of the special teams gurus and the masterminds to go ahead and make something out of this play. If we look at the graphic, we can see the way that this situation is set up. We can see the way that they're lined up. And that's really not what I want to focus on, because the lineup thing and the kicker being where the kicker is, the setup zone, as they call it, all of that stuff is for player safety, right? When you can move, when you can't move. Now, the only people that can move before the ball is kicked, obviously, is the kicker. He's going to move before the ball is kicked. And then you've got the returners that can move before the ball is kicked. They can stack, they can bunch up, they can do whatever they want, because there will be two of them. That is the thing that I think is the most exciting for NFL players themselves, because now you need two returners back there. So as Dan Campbell said, the returner, the kick returner, he's coming back. Like, the kick returner had been phased out. Last year, there were about 2,000 non-plays. Now, what do I mean by non-plays? Well, there were no returns on those 2,000 plays. So the ball was either kicked out of the end zone, or there were fair catches, or whatever may have you. So they weren't plays. You just got the ball kicked out of the end zone, or you fair catched it, and then you started on the 25. So the NFL, obviously, if you were paying attention to the things that they were saying, the things that were coming out of the owners' meetings, they were concerned that the scoring had gone down a bit. And I mean, it didn't go down a whole lot, but the average was like maybe 2 points per game less or something like that. So they obviously, you know, it's an entertainment business. At the end of the day, the NFL is football. We love this sport, but we want to be entertained. And the NFL doesn't want a lot of those, you know, 3-0 type of games, or 6-0, or 3-9, where there's nothing but field goals kicked and things of that nature. So obviously the NFL is trying to make sure that offense is promoted. They obviously have to be careful. Someone said because of the hip drop tackle, which was taken out, people are saying, oh, it's going to be like flag football soon. Well, obviously, we look at the Pro Bowl and the fact that nobody watches the Pro Bowl and the fact that it really is flag football because nobody wanted to really play in the Pro Bowl. They didn't want to try because it's like, dude, I just made it through an entire season. Maybe I got some injuries, maybe I didn't, but I'm healthy right now. We're about to go into the offseason. I am not trying to risk an injury. I'm not trying to tear an ACL, an Achilles, or anything of that nature that is going to put my body, my career even in jeopardy, or my season in jeopardy for this upcoming season. So obviously, it turned into flag football. That's not going to be what the NFL is. If we're talking about, we're going to divert a little bit. If we're talking about the hip drop tackle rule, it is something obviously that they'll look at with data. If it is, I think if it's too much, they're going to have to revisit it next offseason because it's a tackle, and Dan Campbell said, he was like, I think that I was on the side of maybe changing some of the training camp rules so we can educate the players, do some more training on tackling and things of this nature to try to get that hip drop tackle out of the game. He said, because when we're in the meetings and they're voting and they're showing the film, they're showing the people that were injured in the hip drop tackles. He said they're showing the worst of the worst. So they're not showing like, oh, this was innocuous and nothing really happened here. He said, no, they're showing the worst of the worst. They're showing the Mark Andrews plays. They're showing the Kenyon Drake plays. Shout out to Kenyon Drake. He was on Twitter and he tweeted out, how he lost his most of his season and his right ankle that season to a hip drop tackle. So I believe, and then he showed the film, and I believe his ankle was broken during a hip drop tackle. So some of those things are really egregious, and that's what they're going to show, obviously, to sway the hearts and minds of the voters. But now, when we look at that situation, we can jump back into the hybrid kickoff, because this is also a 1-year deal. Like, it is not something that's set in stone. It's not something that they're just going to say, hey, this is it, and we can never change back from it. They are going to look at the data, and they are going to make a decision. They're going to tweak it. I don't think it's going to come back. And the reason that I don't believe it's going to go back to what the current kickoff is because I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and they had on the Indianapolis Colts special teams coordinator. Or was he? I think he was. Sorry, he was the New Orleans Saints special teams coordinator, and he was talking about those non-plays. And basically, when they were pitching it, they were looking at an 86% return rate, right? 86 to 88% return rate. Now, this is when, if you kicked it into the end zone, it was coming out to the 35. That was the original proposal. Now, some of the special teams coordinators, some of the coaches around the league thought that 35 was too punitive. It's too much. If you're starting at the 35, that's a whole 10 yards more than what we were starting with last year with the fair catches. So they said, man, let's not do that, but give us the 30. Okay, so now they're giving you the 30, but you're still going to get, even if you say we had 2,000 non-plays last season, even if you get 50% of those are plays that now can happen, that now can make an impact on the game. Because obviously if it's a non-play, it's not making an impact. You're not getting anything from it. The only impact that you could have made was by an error. Like, let's say if you kicked the ball out of bounds and you got the ball on the 40. So that was the only really negative impact that you could have gotten out of a non-play. It's the only thing that really could cause any sway of field position. So now if you're looking at 50%, even 40% more, right? If you're looking at 50% of 2,000 is 1,000. So now you have 1,000 extra plays. They were looking originally, when they said the 35, they were looking at about 1,600 extra plays. And these are plays that will allow other people to shine. And when I talked about the kickoff returner coming back, now there's going to be like, I'm just going to give you an example. Someone like an Xavier Worthy, who apparently his tape is pretty good according to him, right? But he ran a 4.21. He set the combine record. Now with this thing in the league, do you not think that someone is going to say, hey man, hey, let's grab that Xavier Worthy in the first round. Let's grab him in the second round or wherever he's projected to go. I'm not really sure where he's projected to go. I don't think he's going to be a Lion. I mean, if he did become a Lion, we would definitely have the fastest offense in the history of the NFL, because we got Jahmyr Gibbs, the electrician, and we got JMO. And then you add Xavier Worthy. But that's neither here nor there. But guys that were making it into the league as kick returners, now those guys have the opportunity to come back into the league. Like on our team, we have Maurice Alexander. Now, Maurice Alexander, he was a major kickoff guy in the USFL. And that's how he pretty much got on the team. But as a receiver, he wasn't able to, crack the lineup. So he really wasn't used. But now when you bring the kickoff back, he's going to be used. When Dan Campbell said him and Dave Phipp were already in the lab trying to come up with creative things, I mean, sometimes you might put Jahmyr Gibbs back there. He is the electrician. If you want to electrify the fans, you put him back there in big moments and you let him return. Because the play is a lot safer. What they've been trying to do with it, and this is what you need to understand. They said that now the play is a lot closer to what a line of scrimmage play is, right? They said with this proposal, which is now a rule, the injury rate that you get from this play, with all the moving parts, with all the run-ups taken out, all of that makes it much closer to the injury rate of a line of scrimmage play, which is a normal play in the NFL where you take the ball from the line of scrimmage. The quarterback is involved, all of these things, normal regular plays. So this is what they've tried to do. So now if you go out, because people are like, well, we don't want Jahmyr Gibbs getting injured. Well, if you're telling me that the injury rate is negligible with a normal line of scrimmage play, well, should Jahmyr Gibbs not play football? Because if there's like the same amount of injury risk as there is with football, we already know football has an inherent injury risk. It is a 100% type of thing. You're going to get injured, whether it's a minor injury, some ticky-tack thing that you're out for a play or two, or whether it's a major injury. People miss whole seasons and things of this nature. Like, injuries are going to happen in the NFL. It is just that kind of sport. It's a violent sport. So now if you're looking at Jahmyr Gibbs going back there, it's the fourth quarter. We need a spark. The other team has just scored a touchdown. We're down by 6. And Jahmyr Gibbs takes it to the house. And now we're up by 1. You know what I mean? Like, so this is the type of thing that is exciting about the situation, because you have this opportunity a lot more often. We're not going to have 1,000 more plays, but across the league, there will be 1,000 more plays. And sometimes all you need is that one play. So sometimes all you need is that opportunity. So I'm glad that the NFL has put that opportunity back into the league. If you looked at, I don't remember the dude's name. Was it Trendon Holiday? I think it was Trendon Holiday. Trendon Holiday was 5'6". Trendon Holiday made it into the NFL. He was on the Broncos. as a kick returner. And he was electrifying. He was fast. He was quick. He was shifty. And that's the way he made his money. That's the way he made his name. That's what we know Trendon Holiday for. We don't know him as a running back. We don't know him as a wide receiver. We know him as a kick returner. Devin Hester going into the Hall of Fame as a special teams punt kick returner. Devin Hester was a guy. If you never watched Devin Hester play, you might have the type of take that certain people have, that special teams players shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Devin Hester, man, affected the game in a major way. Even when he didn't touch the ball, which was very often because teams were kicking away from him. Okay, you kick away from Devin Hester and you just take what you get. Yeah, I'm punting the ball deep. No, I'm not, because I'm kicking it away from Devin Hester. So instead of me punting the ball deep and saying, all right, I'll take my chances with this punt, dropping in at the 10-yard line or in between the or inside of the 10-yard line, I'm going to take my chances with that. Or I'm going to kick it away from Devin Hester, not even give him an opportunity to touch the ball, and it goes out of bounds at the 20 or the 25. Right, so this was a major thing for field position. We already know this new rule is a field position type of rule. They're giving you the opportunity by making you return it. If it lands, it has to land within the landing zone. Okay, as you can see on the graphic, it has to land within the landing zone. It can't be kicked out of the end zone without a penalty. If it's kicked out of the end zone, it's coming out to the 30-yard line. If it lands in the end zone, or if it lands in the landing zone and bounces into the end zone, it's going to have to be downed as a kickoff. Not as a kickoff, but it's going to have to be downed, right? And as it'll be a touchback. It'll be a touchback, right? And it'll come out to the original 20-yard line. So there's incentive. The NFL is trying to get you to return this football, and they've tried to make it as safe as possible so that the returners are not put at more of a risk, and the players, the blockers, are not put as more of a risk, and the attackers, right, the kicking team, they are not put at more of a risk than they would be if it was a regular scrimmage play, right? So again, like I said, with a guy like Devin Hester, I mean, he was a major part of the game, whether you appreciate it or not. And he's the all-time leader in punt return touchdowns. Like, whether you appreciate that or not, and whether you think that that's a large number or it's a small number, he had I think an 11-year career. Whether you think 20 touchdowns is a big thing or it's not a big thing, I mean, obviously, okay, a running back or a wide receiver is going to be able to get 20 touchdowns in 2 years, right? He's going to be able to get it in 2 years. Sometimes in situations, he might be able to get it in a year, right? Yes, he's an every down player. But when it's just like I said with Jahmyr Gibbs, like, you're down in the fourth quarter, you're down by 3, you're down by 6, maybe even down by 14, right? Somebody takes it back to the house on special teams. That is a huge momentum shift, right? That's a huge momentum shift, because what it does, especially if you're down by 2 scores, it's going to put doubt in the minds of the other team. Because it's like, man, we've been stopping them on defense. We got this team. It's done. It's our game. We're up by 14 in the fourth quarter. And then they take it to the house. Okay? And then you wind up getting a 3 and out. And then it's like, crap. Here comes special teams again. You got a 3 and out. We got to punt it to them again. So that's why a guy like Devin Hester or any special teams type of player, I'm not going to say any special teams type of player, because Devin Hester obviously was something special. But people now have the opportunity to come in here and to make their mark on the game and to make their mark in the league in special teams again. And that's something that we used to have. That's something that people used to do. Now it's back. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see what kind of schemes that they come up with. I know Dave Phipp is very creative, and as a lot of the special teams coordinators. So I'm interested to see like all of the stuff that happens. It's not exactly like, if you want to see what it looks like, you can go watch some XFL highlights. But it's not exactly the XFL kickoff. They've taken out about 5 or 6 different things from the XFL kickoff, but just to see like what it looks like. What are some of the things that they'll be able to do? I mean, obviously, the reverses, the handoffs, all that stuff between the returners is definitely in play. You definitely will see a whole lot of that, especially since, you're able to set up your blocks now. You're able to set up your blocks more so like a scrimmage play. Obviously, there's no wedges. The only person that can be involved in a double team block is the returner that doesn't get the ball. So there's not really a run up. The huge collisions are gone. So you can set this thing up like it's a scrimmage play. That's the beauty of it. You can set it up like it's a scrimmage play. Now, put a guy like J-Mo back there. Put a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs back there and give them 20 yards. Give them 20 yards to maneuver before anyone is able to touch them, making sure that the blocking is set up properly. Bro, I mean, that's just a recipe. And obviously, they're not going to be the main returners, but I wouldn't mind JMO getting 10 returns a season. I wouldn't mind Jahmyr Gibbs getting 20 returns a season. Why not? Why not? Especially, like I said, if they haven't legislated out injury, you can't do that. But, if you make it a whole lot safer, you make it like a line of scrimmage play, I really don't see the downside, because you can be very creative. There's a lot of different things that you can do. The way you set up your blocks, the way you set up the return, whether it's a trick play, whether it's a straight on play, laterals, reverses, like there's just a lot of things that you can do. And there's probably going to be a lot more house calls, man. There's probably going to be a lot more people taking it to the house, scoring on these kick returns. That's going to bring some excitement back, because now the kickoff was a play where you went and you got some chips in the drink. That's just what it was. It was like an extended commercial break. They go to commercial and then they come back for a kickoff and you're like, and you had people, especially people who were on the roster for return ability. You had people trying to come out. They were trying to do it, but it's just like, it wasn't very effective, So like I said, 2,000 plays or non-plays for the season. That was just boring. And then the NFL is entertainment, so we wanted to bring it back. So that is very exciting. I'm not going to go over all of the rules with you, but just a brief synopsis. The kicker and the kick returners are the only people that can move before the ball is kicked, and the other people can move when the ball touches something, which means that it has to land within the landing zone. If it lands before the landing zone, it's a penalty. If it lands after the landing zone, which is between the 20 and the goal line, if it lands in the end zone, okay, it's gonna be penalized. Not like a flag, but the penalty is you're gonna give up field position, right? You're gonna come out to the 30. Obviously, if you kick the ball out of bounds, the same as the rules now, you're starting at the 40. Now, the one thing that I will say that I didn't really agree with is the whole surprise onside kick thing is no longer available. We saw in New Orleans in the Super Bowl, we saw Sean Payton go for a surprise onside kick. Detroit Lions have gone for surprise onside kicks. I mean, just look at all of the fakes on punts that we've done and all of these things. So the element of surprise is taken out there. Only the trailing team can do it, and it has to be in the fourth quarter, and they have to declare that they are kicking an onside kick, and they have to line up like the current onside kicks, and they have to kick an onside kick. If you don't kick an onside kick, it will be an unsportsmanlike penalty, and we know that's 15 yards plus an automatic first down. So I don't know. I don't like taking that out of the game, but like I said, these kickoffs and them trying to incentivize people, incentivize teams to return the ball. I think that's going to be exciting. Now, yes, there are going to be some situations where you look at a team and you're like, man, they have Jahmyr Gibbs back there and J-Mo, or they've got this speedster and that speedster back there at the same time. What are we going to do? We're just going to kick it out of bounds, or not out of bounds, but we're going to kick it out of the end zone, and we're just going to give it to them at the 30. I don't know how much that's going to happen. And I think it's going to be a game-by-game basis. I don't think that teams are just going to be kicking it out of the end zone and just saying, all right, take it at the 30. I think if they abuse it in that way, they'll probably go ahead and say, look at the data, and next year they'll probably go ahead and say, you know what, we've got to make this thing at the 35. You guys asked us not to penalize you, but now you're doing the same things we had last year. So obviously the NFL teams have gotten the memo. They're not supposed to do that. And that was the concession that they gave them in the negotiations. And that's why it comes out to the 30. So, again, I don't think that you're just going to see a ton of that, but you'll see some of that. And it'll depend on the situation. It obviously will depend on the situation. But, again, I'm excited about seeing people now get an opportunity to get into the NFL. Maybe you're not the best receiver. Maybe you're not the best running back, but when they put the ball in your hands as a returner, I mean, you can light it up. So guys like that will now get the opportunity. You'll see guys drafted. You'll see guys brought in as UDFAs for specifically those reasons. You'll see running back depth charts change. You'll see wide receiver depth charts change because of this type of opportunity that has now been put back into the game. So obviously, let me know what you think about those things, but let's move on to the Josh Reynolds situation. Josh Reynolds is no longer a Detroit Lion. Now, if you were watching the press conferences for those same meetings, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell both said that they wanted to have Josh Reynolds back. I know the fan base is, I don't know, split. Obviously, I can't give you like the percentages, but there are two sides of the coin. The fan base is, we hate Josh Reynolds because he dropped those two passes. We want Josh Reynolds to come back so that he can get an opportunity to have a big season and to avenge those drops. I was on the second side, but I also wasn't firmly on the second side. Like, I need to have Josh Reynolds back. Nah, he's not back. And I don't know that it's a huge loss. We've got DPJ. We've got the ability to draft a rookie to come in. And we know that there are a lot of rookie receivers now coming in, making instant impacts. And I'm not even... Obviously, I'm not talking about J-Mo because we've already talked about J-Mo. Like, Dan Campbell expects J-Mo to be the number 2 wide receiver. He expects that to happen. So we're talking about a number 3 wide receiver. We're talking about DPJ being the number 3. We're not saying he's going to be the number 2. No. To replace Josh Reynolds, he's going to be the number 3 receiver because that's J-Mo's position to lose. Like, it's his position to lose. Like, Dan Campbell, the coaching staff, they want J-Mo to succeed there. They're going to give him the opportunities to succeed there. So that's not even what we're talking about. So we've got DPJ already. He's on the roster. DPJ had damn near 1,000 yards or damn near 900 yards in 2022. So he's a capable receiver. We saw him do it at Michigan. I got drafted by the Browns, bro. I mean, we know the Browns have had the most revolving door of quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Like, in the history of the NFL, the Browns quarterback stability is non-existent. I mean, it's non-existent. I mean, they're obviously they're going all in on Deshaun Watson because they paid him all that money. But I mean, Deshaun Watson, the first season he was there, was nothing going on. He got injured. It was a mess. It was a mess. Like, so they had Joe Flacco come in and, get them to the playoffs. But they had four quarterbacks? They had four quarterbacks. I think it was PJ Walker, Thomas Robert. What was his name? I forget his name. But he was a rookie from UCLA. Obviously, they had Deshaun Watson in there in the beginning, and then they had Joe Flacco, So, DPJ is more than capable, and I think that's why they re-signed him, because they know he's more than capable, but he didn't have a big role. I think he only had 3 catches this past season, but that's because they acquired him at the trade deadline. And we know that Jared Goff has to develop trust in his receivers. He's a big trust guy. This is why J-Mo wasn't getting the ball in the beginning. He didn't get the opportunities because that trust wasn't built yet. And hopefully they're currently working on that trust. I know they are. I know J-Mo's been working with Teddy Bridgewater in Florida. Obviously, Teddy Bridgewater would have Goff's ear because he was in the locker room with him last season. As a backup quarterback, you are brought in to help the quarterback, the starter, prepare. And also, if the starter goes down, he comes in. But I'm confident in DPJ. I'm confident in DPJ. And if we get someone like a Xavier Legette, I don't know if he'll be available in the second round. He might be. But whatever Brad Holmes does, you already know. Whatever Brad Holmes does, that's my GM. That's my GM. That's my quarterback. I don't have any problems with that. No suggestions for Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes is my guy, bro. So, Brad Holmes, go ahead and do your thing. Cook. Bring somebody in the draft. Don't bring somebody in the draft. I mean, they'll probably, even if they don't get one of these, flashy big name receivers, they'll get somebody. It might be a late round gem, a late round steal. It might be somebody like a Brendan Rice. If Brendan Rice is there in the third, fourth round, why not, bro? Why not go ahead and grab a Brendan Rice? It can't hurt. It can't hurt. We know he's good. We know his pedigree. We know who his father is. So, again, I mean, it's not that big of a loss. If we look at the situation, the last time that Josh Reynolds wasn't with Jared Goff, he got cut. Got cut by the Tennessee Titans. And then he came here. So, that's my opinion on the Josh Reynolds situation. He went to the Denver Broncos. He signed a $7 million per year deal. He wasn't getting that here. He wasn't getting that here at all. So go get your money, Josh Reynolds. I'm happy that you're going ahead and getting the bag. You'll be able to take care of your family and all that stuff. Generational wealth and all these things is what this is about. So I do not begrudge Josh Reynolds. I'm not going to sit up here and say bye, Felicia. I'm not going to say anything derogatory about Josh Reynolds on the way out. Only thing that I had I wish that he was able to come back and kind of redeem himself, go to another. Wouldn't it have been like storybook if we went to another NFC Championship game and he caught the game-winning touchdown? Like that would have been a storybook type of ending to the Josh Reynolds saga. But he's in Denver now. He's getting his money, and I got nothing bad to say about him. He was reliable. He was, touchdowns and first downs is all he caught. And he just didn't come up. He didn't show up in that game. He showed up big in the Rams playoff game. He was one of the reasons that we were able to stay on the field, move the ball. He helped us win that game. I'm not even going to say that he didn't. But again, it was a situation in the NFC Championship game. That's what everyone remembers. But that's neither here nor there. He's no longer a Detroit Lion. I'm not sad about it. If he was to have been re-signed, I wouldn't have been sad about it, But that is what that is. And that is all the time that we have for today, man. Go ahead. Like always, smash that like button, subscribe, share, man. Be the type of friend that tells another friend and lets them know about all the wonderful things that are going on in this illustrious kitchen, in this Lions themed kitchen. We just cooking up all the Lions talk and a little bit of what happens around the NFL, but mostly as it pertains to the Detroit Lions. Every Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, we are here, barring any technical difficulties. If we are not here at 10 p.m., that's because we had some technical difficulties. But as always, I will see you next time. Peace.